Hello guys, good morning from Japan. Today is Friday the 8th. It's about 9:30 in the morning. So it seems like Anchorage, Alaska is a major hub for Qantas Airlines. The Australian Airlines Qantas seems like Anchorage, Alaska is a major hub for this airline, and we wonder why. So here I have the flat earth map open. We're going to look at some flights from Qantas, from Anchorage to New York, from Anchorage to Chicago, from Anchorage to Dallas, as well as coming from Asia, all operated by Qantas. We're going to see some flights coming from Shanghai, Korea, and they all also come from Sydney. So let's look at some of these flights, and this only favors the flat earth map because, let's take a look at this real quick. So first we come across this page here, Qantas flights from Sydney to Anchorage, Alaska, and they even have a map here displaying the route from Sydney to Anchorage, Alaska, which is impossible. This is an impossible flight on the globe, but not on the flat earth map. I'm going to look in a few minutes. So flight schedule, non-direct flights. It says here one stop, but you can never find out. There's no page, no flights found here. You cannot know where this flight stops. It just says it's a cargo flight. This is a scheduled cargo flight, cargo flights. There are several of them. Saturday, Wednesday, Friday, and effective July 2020. But we don't find any more information about this flight. Direct flight, of course, it doesn't favor the globe, but if you look on the flat earth map, you understand this is a flight. Actually, we can open this one here. I've made a video about Sydney. You have here Sydney to Anchorage, Alaska, right here. You can understand why this is possible on the flat earth map, but it's not possible on the globe. This is impossible on the globe. And there are more. There is this all operating inside the United States, but they are all Qantas flights. We have this Qantas flight 7589 operate from Anchorage to New York. This is looks like a domestic flight, but it's operated by Qantas. We have another one here. This is another map of the flights coming from Sydney, stop in Asia. It makes more sense on the flat earth map, as I'm going to show. But this is a flight to Anchorage to Chicago. And here you have from Seoul to Anchorage. This is a flight landed Shanghai to Anchorage. We're going to look at these flights on the flat earth map in a minute. We have here Anchorage to Dallas, Anchorage to Chicago, and Anchorage, Dallas. That's another word. Now, this one here was sent to me by Albino Galoppini. He's an Italian author. He wrote 2 books about Bill Casing, the biography of Bill Casing, part 1 and part 2. And he sent me this, showing these flights from Anchorage to Chicago operated by no other than Qantas. That's the Qantas flight 7557. So when we look at the flat earth map, we can understand why these flights come from Sydney towards the United States. Here it is how those flights work on the flat earth map. Here we do have the flat earth map, the Gleason's map. We have Sydney, Australia right here. And we have the cities of Shanghai, we have Korea here, we have Tokyo, we have Anchorage, and we have New York, we have Chicago, we have Dallas. Those flights make way more sense when you plug them, you look at them on the flat earth map. There are flights, straight flights from Sydney to Anchorage, but we could not see. This says there is one stop, but we don't know where. But anyway, those flights favor the flat earth map. It does not favor the globe model. And why is Qantas operating all these flights here domestically from Anchorage to New York to Chicago and to Dallas? And you don't see flights, as I encourage you to watch my video, Flights Australia to North America, Fly North of Hawaii, Proving Flat Earth, because you will see there are no flights, including the flights that are supposed to be flying over Mexico towards Houston and Dallas, but at the same time you cannot find a flight to Mexico City. The Qantas does not fly. There is not a single flight connecting Mexico City to Sydney, to Australia, which would favor greatly the globe model, but you cannot find all those flights. If you want to fly to Mexico from Australia, you need to fly through one of these cities here, either Houston or Dallas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Vancouver, but you cannot find a flight coming from Mexico City, from Sydney to Mexico City. I did find a PDF online stating that Qantas had plans to fly from Sydney to Mexico City by 2024, but they were waiting for some improvements in aircraft autonomy. They were waiting for improvements in autonomy, and so they could fly. So that only favors the flat Earth model. So going back here to the other map, this one, coming back here, you understand now why these flights will favor the flat Earth map. Now I'm going to play right here a video that shows a case in the 1990s where Northwest Airlines and Australia were fighting over this route, New York, Tokyo, and Sydney. You will see that on the flat Earth map, it makes way more sense, and you can understand why they were fighting for this route, but it makes no sense at all on the globe. At the end of the video, it will be displayed according to the court documents, the map showing the route from New York to Sydney. You will see that makes no sense on the globe, but once you look at the flat Earth map, you can understand why they were fighting for this route here. So let's watch this video real quick.
Dispute resolution in international aviation. Australia v. US, 1993. US-Australia bilateral. The United States may designate a carrier to serve the North Pacific route between the US to any 2 points in Australia via Canada, Japan, Southeast Asia and the Philippines. On October 27, 1991, Northwest Airlines began providing service between New York, Tokyo, Sydney. Soon, between 80 to 85% of Northwest's traffic were local Japanese-Australian passengers, with no link to the US, and therefore arguably violative of the primary objective provision of the Capacity Clause in Annex B, Section 4 of the bilateral. The primary objective clause requires that the traffic on the Fifth Freedom route in question should be primarily based on traffic going to or coming from an airline's country of registry. On December 1, 1992, Australia notified Northwest Airlines that 2 of its 3 weekly Osaka-Sydney flights would be limited to no more than 50% Fifth Freedom traffic, and the third would have none. On April 29, 1993, Australia notified the US that because Northwest had failed to comply with restrictions imposed upon Fifth Freedom operations, that Northwest's rights to serve Osaka-Sydney would be revoked on May 30, and that upon reapplication only 2 of the 3 weekly flights would be reauthorized, and that Fifth Freedom traffic would be capped at 50%. The US retaliated, effective upon the date of the Australian government's restriction of Northwest's Osaka-Sydney service, June 30. Qantas would lose 3 of its 10 weekly frequencies in the Los Angeles-Sydney market. Negotiations allowed NW to substitute Detroit for New York on the route, and provided that local traffic between Osaka and Sydney would not exceed 50% of the total passengers on Northwest's flights.
So now you can see at the end of this video how it makes no sense at all on the globe Earth, but when you plug the same route here on this flat Earth map, you can understand why they were fighting for taking passengers from Tokyo to Australia, because on the flat Earth map it just makes more sense for the way these flights come from. So one more time, Qantas operating inside the US, and Anchorage is a major hub for Qantas Airlines, and I was reading online, they use other hangars here from other airlines. Of course, they are disguising, and they change planes sometimes from Qantas airplanes to like American Airlines, but the flight number is still the same, still keep on flying as Qantas flights, not as an American Airline or other US carriers. So it's just proof that the flat Earth map makes more sense, and those flights makes no sense at all on the globe Earth map. Okay, just short video, guys. You guys have a good day today. See you next time. Bye bye.